Game design is the art of applying design and aesthetics to create a game to facilitate interaction between players for entertainment or for medical, educational, or experimental purposes. Game design can be applied both to games and, increasingly, to other interactions, particularly virtual ones. Game design creates goals, rules, and challenges to define a sport, tabletop game, casino game, video game, role-playing game, or simulation that produces desirable interactions among its participants and, possibly, spectators. Academically, game design is part of game studies, while game theory studies strategic decision-making. Games have historically inspired seminal research in the fields of probability, artificial intelligence, economics, and optimization theory. Applying game design to itself is a current research topic in meta-design. History, sports, gambling, and board games are known, respectively, to have existed for at least 10,000, 6,000, and 5,000 years. Folk process tabletop games played today whose descent can be traced from ancient times include chess, go, parcheesi, backgammon, mahjong, mancala, and pick-up sticks. The rules of these games were not codified until early modern times, and their features gradually evolved and changed over time through the folk process. Given this, these games are not considered to have had a designer or been the result of a design process in the modern sense. After the rise of commercial game publishing in the late 19th century, many games which had formerly evolved via folk processes became commercial properties, often with custom scoring pads or pre-prepared material. For example, the similar public domain games General R, Yacht, and Yahtzee led to the commercial game Yahtzee in the mid-1950s. Today, many commercial games, such as Taboo, Balderdash, Pictionary, or Time's Up, are descended from traditional parlor games. Adapting traditional games to become commercial properties is an example of game design. Similarly, many sports, such as soccer and baseball, are the result of folk processes, while others were designed, such as basketball, invented in 1891 by James Naismith. New media technological advances have provided new media for games throughout history. The printing press allowed packs of playing cards, adapted from mahjong tiles, to be mass-produced, leading to many new card games. Accurate topographic maps produced his lithographs and provided free to Prussian officers helped popularize war gaming. Cheap book binding led to mass-produced board games with custom boards. Inexpensive lead figurine casting contributed to the development of miniature wargaming. Cheap custom dice led to poker dice. Flying discs led to disc golf and ultimate. Personal computers contributed to the popularity of computer games, leading to the wide availability of video game consoles and video games. Smartphones have led to a proliferation of mobile games. The first games in a new medium are frequently adaptations of older games. Pong, one of the first widely disseminated video games, adapted table tennis. Later games will often exploit distinctive properties of a new medium. Adapting older games and creating original games for new media are both examples of game design. Theory. Game studies or gaming theory is a discipline that deals with the critical study of games, game design, players, and their role in society and culture. Prior to the late 20th century, the academic study of games was rare and limited to fields such as history and anthropology. As the video game revolution took off in the early 1980s, so did academic interest in games, resulting in a field that draws on diverse methodologies and schools of thought. These influences may be characterized broadly in three ways: the social science approach, the humanities approach, and the industry and engineering approach. Broadly speaking, the social scientific approach has concerned itself with the question of what do games do to people, using tools and methods such as surveys, controlled laboratory experiments, and ethnography researchers have investigated both the positive and negative impacts that playing games could have on people. More sociologically informed research has sought to move away from simplistic ideas of gaming as either negative or positive, but rather seeking to understand its role and location in the complexities of everyday life. In general terms, the humanities approach has concerned itself with the question of what meanings are made through games, using tools and methods such as interviews, ethnographies and participant observation. Researchers have investigated the various roles that video games play in people's lives and activities together with the meaning they assign to their experiences. From an industry perspective, a lot of game studies research can be seen as the academic response to the video game industry's questions regarding the products it creates and sells. The main question this approach deals with can be summarized as, how can we create better games, with the accompanying, what makes a game good? Good can be taken to mean many different things, including providing an entertaining and an engaging experience, being easy to learn and play, and being innovative and having novel experiences. Different approaches to studying this problem have included looking at describing how to design games and extracting guidelines and rules of thumb for making better games. Strategic decision-making. Game theory is a study of strategic decision-making. Specifically, it is the study of mathematical models of conflict and cooperation between intelligent rational decision-makers. An alternative term suggested, as a more descriptive name for the discipline, is interactive decision theory. The subject first addressed zero-sum games, such that one person's gains exactly equal net losses of the other participant or participants. Today, however, game theory applies to a wide range of behavioral relations, and has developed into an umbrella term for the logical side of decision science. The games studied in game theory are well-defined mathematical objects. To be fully defined, a game must specify the following elements: the players of the game, the information and actions available to each player at each decision point, and the payoffs for each outcome. A game theorist typically uses these elements, along with a solution concept of their choosing, to deduce a set of equilibrium strategies for each player such that, when these strategies are employed, no player can profit by unilaterally deviating from their strategy. These equilibrium strategies determine an equilibrium to the game, a stable state in which either one outcome occurs or a set of outcomes occur with known probability. Design elements. Games can be characterized by what the player does. This is often referred to as gameplay. Major key elements identified in this context are tools and rules that define the overall context of game. Tools of play. Games are often classified by the components required to play them. In places where the use of leather is well established, the ball has been a popular game piece throughout recorded history, resulting in a worldwide popularity of ball games such as rugby, basketball, football, cricket, tennis, and volleyball. Other tools are more idiosyncratic to a certain region. Many countries in Europe, for instance, have unique standard decks of playing cards. Other games such as chess may be traced primarily through the development and evolution of its game pieces. Many game tools are tokens, meant to represent other things. A token may be a pawn on a board, play money, or an intangible item such as a point scored. Games such as hide-and-seek or tag do not utilize any obvious tool. Rather, their interactivity is defined by the environment. Games with the same or similar rules may have different gameplay if the environment is altered. For example, hide-and-seek in a school building differs from the same game in a park. An auto race can be radically different depending on the track or street course, even with the same cars. Rule development. Whereas games are often characterized by their tools, they are often defined by their rules. While rules are subject to variations and changes, enough change in the rules usually results in a new game. There are exceptions to this in that some games deliberately involve the changing of their own rules. But even then there are often immutable meta-rules. Rules generally determine turn order, the rights and responsibilities of the players, and each player's goals. Play rights may include when they may spend resources or move tokens. Victory conditions. Common win conditions are being first to amass a certain quota of points or tokens, having the greatest number of tokens at the end of the game, or some relationship of one's game tokens to those of one's opponent. Single or multiplayer. Most games require multiple players. However, single-player games are unique in respect to the type of challenges a player faces. Many games described as single-player may be termed actually puzzles or recreations. Unlike a game with multiple players competing with or against each other to reach the game's goal, a one-player game is a battle solely against an element of the environment, against one's own skills, against time, or against chance. Storyline and plot. Stories told in games may focus on narrative elements that can be communicated through the use of mechanics and player choice. Narrative plots in games generally have a clearly defined and simplistic structure. Mechanical choices on the part of the designer often drastically affect narrative elements in the game. However, due to a lack of unified and standardized teaching and understanding of narrative elements in games, individual interpretations, methods, and terminology vary wildly. Because of this, most narrative elements in games are created unconsciously and intuitively. However, as a general rule, game narratives increase in complexity and scale as player choice or game mechanics increase in complexity and scale. One example of this is removing a player's ability to directly affect the plot for a limited time. This lack of player choice necessitates an increase in mechanical complexity, and could be used as a metaphor to symbolize depression that is felt by a character in the narrative. Luck and strategy. A game's tools and rules will result in its requiring skill, strategy, luck, or a combination thereof, and are classified accordingly. Games of skill include games of physical skill, such as wrestling, tug-of-war, hopscotch, target shooting, and stake, and games of mental skill such as checkers and chess. Games of strategy include checkers, chess, Go, Aramar, and tic-tac-toe, and often require special equipment to play them. Games of chance include gambling games, as well as snakes and ladders and rock, paper, scissors. Most require equipment such as cards or dice. Most games contain two or all three of these elements. For example, American football and baseball involve both physical skill and strategy, while Tiddlywinks, poker, and Monopoly combine strategy and chance. Many card and board games combine all three. Most trick-taking games involve mental skill, strategy, and an element of chance, as do many strategic board games such as Risk, Settlers of Catan, and Carcassonne. Used as educational tool by learning through play, children can develop social and cognitive skills, mature emotionally, and gain the self-confidence required to engage in new experiences and environments. Key ways that young children learn include playing, being with other people, being active, exploring and new experiences, talking to themselves, communication with others, meeting physical and mental challenges, being shown how to do new things, practicing and repeating skills, and having fun. Play develops children's content knowledge and provides children the opportunity to develop social skills, competences and disposition to learn. Play-based learning is based on a Vygotskian model of scaffolding where the teacher pays attention on specific elements of the play activity and provides encouragement and feedback on children's learning. When children engage in real-life and imaginary activities, play can be challenging in children's thinking. To extend the learning process, sensitive intervention can be provided with adult support when necessary during play-based learning. Development process. Development team. Game artist. A game artist is an artist who creates art for one or more types of games. Game artists are responsible for all of the aspects of game development that call for visual art. Game artists are often noted in role-playing games, collectible card games and video games. Testing. Game testing, a subset of game development, is a software testing process for quality control of video games. The primary function of game testing is the discovery and documentation of software defects. Interactive entertainment software testing is a highly technical field requiring computing expertise, analytic competence, critical evaluation skills, and endurance. In recent years, the field of game testing has come under fire for being excessively strenuous and unrewarding, both financially and emotionally.